Hello, everybody. Recording live from somewhere.
Minister of Information.
Next question. Minister.
Did you wake me up?
Minister.
Did you wake me up?
Minister.
Why did you wake me up?
Minister.
Wake up.
Minister of Information. All I'm offering is the truth.
The minister.
The minister's
I want the truth.
The minister.
You can't handle the truth.
M.O.I.
Minister.
without knowledge of self.
Minister of Information. M.O.I.
Who taught you to hate yourself?
1,000 ministers.
M.O.I. podcast.
Peace to the planet. It is I, M.O.I. Make sure my volume is on point. Peace and light. Everybody can hear me? Peace and light. I had to go get me some ad-free music because they was tagging my music, I would assume. But anyway, M.O.I. I'm in the building, family. What's good? Midday, man. High noon. Happy high noon across the globe. It's 12:22, and I'm in the building. Shouts out to Crumb TV, of course. Paying homage to the home station, to the home network, to the home platform. Today we're gonna cover something that I've been on for a minute called "Get Out of Your Cotton Picking Mind," and I'm gonna do several series of this. My attempt at this live of "Get Out of Your Cotton Picking Mind" is literally to get my people out of their cotton picking mind. And this cotton picking mind situation is an actual condition. It's a condition. And we're going to talk about the condition today. And we're going to take some notes as per usual. Okay. So make sure you got your pen and your pad. I see we're 30 people watching right now. Y'all already know the protocol. Let's get those numbers up by sharing, tagging, adding. You can share through text message too, family. If you're watching on YouTube, just hit the little share option. If you have an Apple phone, they give you option to share through text message or sharing the regular social media route. But you can also send out a text message real quick too, a text blast. You got 10 people in your phone that'll tune in while they're at work. I guarantee you. Try it. So if you guys don't know who I am, I'm the Minister of Information, M.O.I., in case you've been under a rock for the past, I don't know how long. So let's get started. Keeping the proper protocol, of course, house rules. D-Nice was in here early. As a matter of fact, I want to do something else. Peace and love, D-Nice. We see you, brother. A couple people sent me a Cash App. I want to shout y'all out real quick for shooting over Cash App. For doing what good brother Crumb asked y'all to do and that support. You guys, anytime we come on this platform, I'm not seeking money till, hold on, 4 people. I'm not seeking, any, like I'm not going to make a living off doing this. I could and I can, I would love to. So anytime we come on this platform, guys, you have to realize that we're taking time out of our day, out of our away from our children, and just like any other job that we would subscribe to, it's the same thing. So Aaron Austin, appreciate the love, the donation, the $2 donation, brothers. Appreciate you. Take Flight, sent over $2. Hiram Abiff, sent over $10. Appreciate it, brother. Thank you so much, man. And again, as we continue to do the great work, not seeking monetary value, Connie Money also sent over $10. Appreciate you, sis. Appreciate you so much. So this is a couple of names I called out on my Cash App situation. Of course, if you guys want to, bless the house if you can, and I understand, how it is, but for an hour's worth of information, and you guys know I'm not here to convince or persuade anybody. It's just information. Do your own research. Then it's become something it's not something you heard. So I think I'm putting out decent research. I get a lot of accolades over on TikTok. Get a lot of good accolades over there right now for the information. It's a lot of information out there, y'all. A lot of information. But I'm teaching you guys how to collect this information through time and space. It's called time and space, giving you guys dates, times, people, names. If you hear me say some names, which I'm going to show some names today. We're going to go over 1, 2, 3, 4, about 5, 6 different people in retrospect to history. Probably more than 5. I'm lying. It's maybe more than 5. So, anywho, D Nice, we see you, brother. Appreciate you tapping in. Who else we got in the building behind D Nice? Again, D Nice is here early though. Pharaoh is Israel. Okay, Pharaoh Israel. He's saying peace to Crumb. Crumb, we see you. Crumb is out in the audience today, family. Crumb's actually in the audience today, so he'll be out there with you guys tapping in. But peace to Crumb. Deshaun Marshall, huge fan, brother. Appreciate you, man. I need to get in the gym too, man. Every time I see your profile picture, I'd be ashamed I ate ice cream last night, brother. Every time I see your profile picture, I'm like, damn, I gotta do better, man. But appreciate you, brother. Deshaun's over on my TikTok too. Deshaun know I'll be going crazy on TikTok as well, so check me out over there as well. Sam Stone, 4141, peace, family. Queen, I know that's right. Queens to evolve. I know that's right. Peace and love. Peace, family. We see you. DB, greetings. Ashe, Brother Crom. Again, Brother Crom, it may be in the audience somewhere. So shouts to Brother Crom. This is M.O.I. today. Doing a Crom TV takeover. I'm doing a takeover all this week. I'm doing a whole series of things over on Crom TV in regards to history. Let me show you guys what I'm working on. That's the background. You go to cover up. This is going to be a live lecture right here. Hold on, let me comment now. This is going to be a live lecture right here. It's called The Real Revolutionaries. There's a lecture coming up this week as well. And of course, I'm going to continue the series of Get Out of Your Cotton Picking Mind this week. And we're going to circle back, of course, on the 13 penal colonies. And that information, hopefully, between the 13 penal colonies and the real revolutionaries and Get Out of Your Cotton Picking Mind. These 3 series, and I have one more dealing with HBCUs as well. But this week, I will be on Crom TV this week going live with these various topics in respect to history. All right. Is y'all ready? Everybody ready? Ready on my right? Ready on my left? Everybody ready? And, without further ado, family, we're going to go ahead and jump right into it. All right, so this is a series that's been near and dear to me for a long time. And the name of it is Get Out of Your Cotton Picking Mind. And what I mean by get out of your cotton picking mind is there's a certain mindset. I'm gonna come right back to this, I promise you. There's a certain mindset that we have unknowingly in a condition called psychonegrosis. You may have heard me talk about it before. If you have, great. If you haven't, it's your first word of the day. Take notes, family. What I'll do is just read it for you because it's real small on my end as well. It says psychonegrosis is a mental disorder affecting the spirits, personality, motives, and actions of Negroes who have failed to rid themselves of their psychological ills they have occurred from their collective experience with foreigners. Marked by a disorder of ideal of self and others, psychonegrosis results in an unnatural pattern of perception, logic, thought, speech, behavior, and emotional expression, and is accompanied by various other unnatural dispositive manifestations, such as, but not limited to, self-group depreciation, the champion of non-Black ideas, conversions to non-Black religion, xenophilia, especially Anglocentric xenophilia, cognitive dissonance, sexual deviation, escapism, dual or double consciousness, conflicting loyalties, and unscrupulous liberalism, differing in degrees, severities from one individual to another. That's what psychonegrosis is. Okay? And with respect, that's what I mean by when I say get out of your cotton picking mind, because there is a mindset unknowingly to so-called Black people in America or so-called Negroes in America. There is a mindset. There's a mindset that there's this belief that we all have or had at one time or another that we came from a place because we were told we came from a place and we was placed in a system. Pardon me. I was getting downloads just then. I have to write it comes to my mind to write it down. So that was me taking a second to take some notes over here on my pad. But we were taught a certain thing, a certain kind of way, and we never questioned it or never challenged it. We just kind of went along with it until we, hit our rightful age we are right now. With respect to the audience members, I'm 42 years old. That's cool with me. I'll take 42. But I'm 42 years old, and I knew for a fact that we were from Africa based on education. And then you have to begin to scrutinize and question the education systems based on the Carnegie Foundation and the Rockefeller Foundation with the research, what their mindsets were with this education program. This is exactly what it was. It was an education. It's a program. And they ran this program for 12 years on us. And it's okay, because today I'm here to brainwash you. That's right. M.O.I is going to brainwash you. I'm going to take your brain out. I'm going to put some bleach on it, some Febreze, a little bit of Comet, some Joy dish detergent. I'm going to wash your brain and put it back in your head. This crap stops today. We're going to unlearn a lot today. In this hour and 20 minutes I'm going to give you guys, maybe 2 hours, I don't know. You know how I feel. So it's about an hour though. So during your lunch break, put your AirPods in and go back to work and just listen after you learn break again, because I'm about to go in. So we have to figure something out. We have to figure something out. Because on one hand, we know something is terribly wrong. We know as a collective, on one hand, something is terribly wrong with how we feel as a people in this society. Something is terribly wrong with the information they gave us a long time ago, because we're now finding out that there's way more information. We're now finding out there's way more information than what we was told, and still some stuff that has not been revealed yet. That's why we have things like Crumb TV and people like Misinformation and people like late great Bobby Hemmett and Dr. Deborah Blair and Malachi York and Dr. Eileen Bay and so on and so. That's why we had those kind of people in a time when they had to come give us all the information that we missed. See, the revolutionaries of the 60s didn't get an opportunity to pass down that revolutionary energy to us 80s babies, because they were intercepted by drugs. Remember the war on blacks. I mean, the war on drugs. Remember that in the 80s? They took all the black fathers out of the community and they only left the crackheads to raise the babies. Remember that? That's when the black mothers became totally dependent on the welfare state. Graduation rates of so-called African Americans plummeted. Incarceration rates increased. So we didn't get this history. Not all the way. But it's okay, because I'm here to help bridge the gap. I'm here to help put that missing piece back on the puzzle for you guys. That's what I'm gonna help do today. All right. So let's just start with the first thing that we can start with. The notion that you came from Africa. I know people like myself and a couple other brothers who've been really doing the work. I won't share their names, but you guys know who they are on YouTube and TikTok. A lot of good brothers been doing the work out here, man. Doing the research, doing the work, and discovering some amazing things that we may not just be from Africa. We may just be from the whole planet. We might just be Earthlings and not Africans. But I wanted to do more research. I wanted to find out who started this idea. Because you guys know that this is a theory, right? It's called out of Africa theory. The first theory known as the out of Africa model is the Homo sapien developed first in Africa, then spread around the world between 100 and 200,000 years ago, superseding all other hominoid species. Keep that in mind. Keep that in mind as we go through this. Keep this in mind. I won't highlight. There we go. Keep that in mind. Hominoid species. Now, the hominoid species, we have to start here. If nobody's having this conversation with you, we have to start right here. Because if we try to come over to America and start with the Indian tribes and Native Americans and who those Homo habilis groups coming across the Siberian Peninsula and amalgamating, then the British are coming this way, and then Spain is coming up from the bottom and France is from the top. And by the time we get to that part of it, we have lost so much information and so much DNA. We could really end the argument if we knew 10 minutes of this information right here. We could end the whole argument and prove that you're the first entities. We're talking about Homo species, Homo sapiens. Now, out of the hominoid taxonomy or species group, because see, that's what taxonomy is. It's the classification of species. Guess who's the father of taxonomy? That's right, a European by the name of Carl Linnaeus. We're going to talk about Carl Linnaeus in a second. But for right now, write down that name, Carl Linnaeus. And I'll get to him in a second. But see, I have to teach you guys all the information. All the information. So now, the out of Africa theory goes this way. And I'm going to show you the person in a second who found the oldest hominoid species, hominoid fossils, because even in that discipline, you have paleontologists, you have archaeologists, you have people who dig in the ground, just dig in the ground, okay? People who dig up the bones, people who dig up the culture. These are different disciplines. So I'm going to show you different paleontologists, different archaeologists. And as I bring up these people's name, I'm going to tell you which profession they belong to. Archaeology or paleontology. What do they excavate out the ground? And I'll tell you who is what. I'll also tell you about who are the pseudoscientists, which is another word we have to understand. Pseudoscience, which is false science, which is a lot of this shit is just false science. Okay? So if we can disprove the theory, because the theory was never proven in the first, this is just a theory. It's called the out of Africa theory. And if you have an inkling of strong African ties to Africa, then cool. It's not for you. You can listen, but this is not your conversation, respectfully. This is for the millions of so-called African Americans in North America who find themselves in the past 6, 7, 8 years scratching their heads and wondering, could we not be from there? This is for all the 80s babies and 70s babies. Don't forget about y'all. 90s babies, I don't think y'all got this information about what I'm about to say right now. But for all the 70s babies and the 80s babies, when you were growing up, you was a preteen, 12, 13, 10 of age. At any point growing up in the South, I grew up in the South. At any point that somebody called you an African booty scratcher, what did you do? Now I haven't talked to none of y'all. I haven't talked to none of y'all about none of this at all. But growing up in the South or anywhere in North America for that particular matter, and someone called you an African booty scratcher, what would you do? You would get upset, probably shove them. Being called an African booty scratcher back then started a fight. Right, be ready to fight somebody. Exactly. Fighting. You ready to put hands on somebody to call you African booty scratcher. And you were young at this point. Also, in that same regiment, the same people who knew that would start a fight, how many times have you heard your auntie or great grandma or somebody in your family you was younger say that you had Indian in your family? How many of y'all have ever heard growing up, if you're 40 and younger, between 30 and 40, a little bit older, how many of y'all have ever heard that you had Indian in your family? Press 000 if you have ever heard you had Indian in your family. You don't even know, you just heard somebody say it. You heard somebody say there's Indian in your family. You don't even know what tribe, you just heard it. If you heard, you have press 000 000 if you have ever heard you had Indian in your family. Look at that. Chat going crazy. Chat going crazy. So if you knew back then that you were not an African, because of African booty scratcher, it'll get you hurt real bad back then. If you would fight for that and embrace the fact you're Indian in your family, what the hell happened? What happened? What happened? From the ages of 8, 9, 7, 6, 10, 13, 12, you heard you had Indian in your family. You never heard nowhere your grandma, auntie, or anybody say ever out loud that you're from Africa. See, the out of Africa theory was actually taught to Negroes. Yeah. No, nobody. It was taught to Negroes. And I'm going to show you the people who taught it. People like Melville Herkovich and Francis Boas. We're going to talk about this. About why the ancestors were afraid to call themselves Indian or Native American. It was a law against it for a long time. You know that? It was outlawed. They couldn't even say that they were Indian. They had to take on the Negro, black, colored notation. But we're going to talk about the history of it. So the out of Africa theory was the first theory known out of Africa model. It is the Homo sapien developed first in Africa, then spread around the world between 100 and 200,000 years ago, superseding all other hominoids. That means it superseded all other hominoids, such as Cro-Magnon. I'm going to show you what Cro-Magnon looks like. Cro-Magnon. It means it preceded any of the Paleolithic era entities. Okay? Such as Neanderthals, you had the pecan, and you had the Java man. So this is saying this entity preceded all those species. Where's another place that could give us fact to back up this idea? Where else? Let's take a look at Second Genesis. Why are we in the Bible, minister? Because the Bible belongs to us too. where else can we see this information backed up? This out of Africa idea, right? We're going to go to Genesis chapter 2. We're going to start with verse 4 because it's important. Verse 4, Genesis chapter 2 says, This is the account of the heavens and the earth when they were created, when Lord God made the earth and the heavens. See that? The is a definite article talking about one entity, earth, and usually means something else happened. And definite article, the heavens, which are plural, not just one. Just wanted to point that out to you guys, okay? A couple things were being made in those 7 days, supposedly. Let's keep going. 5. No shrubs had yet appeared on earth, and no plants had yet sprung up. So it was barren. It's a barren land. For Lord God had not sent rain. It had not rained yet at all on the earth, and there was no one to work the ground. There were no farmers. There were no sharecroppers. There were no tenant farmers. There were no slaves. There were nobody. There was no USDA, Department of Agriculture. There was nobody yet to till the ground. It says right here. But streams came up from the earth and watered the whole surface from the ground. Then the Lord God formed a man from the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils and breathed in the nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living being. That's not the point I want to make. I just wanted to read that part right here. Let's go to 10. A river watering the garden flowed from Eden. Now, at this point, we don't know where Eden is. We can just assume where Eden is, but we have a location. The first was called, between the 4 riverheads, the first was called the Pison, and it wound through the entire land of Havilah. So I want you guys to write down Pison, Pishon. Right beside it, write down Havilah. Havilah, the land of Havilah, where there is gold. Ooh, there's gold there. And the gold of that land is good. Is there a bad gold? So we worry about bad gold? Why is he pointing out the gold is here? Why is this the thing right now? I'm confused. The aromatic resin and the onyx are there too. The name of the second river is called the Gihon. So write down the Gihon. 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 It winds to the entire land of Cush. Right beside that, put Cush. Right? So what we know right now so far is the Pison River goes through the land of Havilah. And we know that the Gihon River goes through the land of Cush. We got that? Everybody with me so far? So if you write down Havilah and you wrote down Cush, Gihon goes with Cush and Pison goes with Havilah. What is the point of doing this exercise? Because if you keep reading down to 15, it says, the Lord God took the man and put him in the garden of Eden to work and take care of it. So now we have a being being placed in this location. We have a location, which is Havilah and Cush. The name of the 2 rivers are called Gihon and Pison. So this is the first created man, according to the Bible. Now, let's cross-reference. This is how you study, family, okay? Let's go double check what we just did. Let's see here. Who was Havilah the son of in the Bible? Oh, look. So now if you wrote out beside Havilah, Pison, and you wrote out Gihon beside the land of Cush, now it says Genesis chapter 10 gives the name Havilah twice. Once in verse 7 among the sons of Cush, which is Ethiopia, for Sheba. And the second time in verse 29 amongst the son of Joktan, immediately after Sheba and Orpha. Now, we're in Africa, if you guys haven't figured it out yet. We're on the continent of Africa. If you have not figured that part out yet, this is the point of this exercise right here. Genesis chapter 2 gives you the land of Havilah before Havilah is even born. Did you catch that? The son of Cush is not even born to chapter 10. The land of Havilah and the land of Cush is mentioned in Genesis chapter 2. Hell, Cush is not even born yet, and Cush is being mentioned in Genesis chapter 2. There is no person called Cush yet until Noah, right? Sons, right? This is how you get Cush. From Ham. Cush is Noah's grandson. Havilah is Cush great-grandson. I'm sorry, Noah great-grandson. So we're just cross-referencing the locations, fam. That's all we just did right quick to make sure we're in the right place. There was a creature that was created in Africa between these two rivers called Pison and Gihon. In the land of Havilah and the land of Cush, we can now verify that Cush is the son of Ham. These have to be the dark-skinned people. We can assume, according to the story, these are the dark-skinned people. This is us doing basic research. All right, let's go back. Now, out of Africa theory, why do you think Europeans wanted to start in Africa? Why did they start in Africa? Because, hell, they couldn't go to Europe. They couldn't start in Europe. In fact, they tried to start in Europe. They tried to start in Europe, but there's nothing of significance up there. You see that? So they had to come to Africa. Who gave thought? Who gave thought to this idea? Let's look him up. He's right here. Write this young fella down right here. Louis Leakey. Write down Louis Leakey. This is going to be the first of your names. The first of your names. Now, family, if you're paying it, please pay attention. This is going to be very important in the next couple of minutes, right? Next 30 minutes or so, very important. On a piece of paper, you're going to write names. Put a line under names. Out, give yourself some room. Outside to the right, put dates. The word dates. Underline it. Out beside that, put the word where. Where. So you should have 3 categories on your sheet of paper. Oh, for sure. The Moses. Yeah. So across the paper, you should have the word names. You should have dates. You should have where. W-H-E-R-E, where, as in location. As I go through the next 30 minutes, 40 minutes or so, I'm going to give you names, people. You're going to write the names down and the dates that are relevant to the work that I'm giving out that they did, all right? And you're going to put where, the location of where it was, all right? Now, strangely enough, a lot of these individuals I'm about to name, they're going to have a huge connection to being dramatic, being German. I'm going to give you a lot of German scientists and anthropologists and just a lot of German opinions. And that becomes interesting due to the fact that we're going to circle back with these Germans a little bit later in the 1920s, all through the 30s, which is the precursor for the German Holocaust. But they got the blueprint from America first. And before we even get anywhere close to that information, we have to show cause and show proof how they begin to subtract from our humanity based on pseudoscience. Now, prior to this research I'm about to get into, we were kings, monarchs, palaces, harems, pyramids, kingdoms, realms. That was us. Remember, this is our planet. Remember that? Remember, we just talked about it 5 minutes ago. You see how quick the psychonegrosis kicked in? You forgot that you were the ruler of the planet. Before this research I talk about, before human evolution, before the theory of human evolution, who put forth that theory, by the way? Who gave us the theory? Theory. A theory is not fact, family. Okay? A theory is not fact. So we're going to talk about Charles Darwin theory of evolution. We're going to deal with all that. So as again, names, dates, where. First name right now, Louis Leakey, Dr. Louis Leakey. Dr. Louis Leakey. Remember earlier I talked about the different disciplines of study to find this stuff. Dr. Leakey was a paleoanthropologist and an archaeologist. A paleontologist. He's a paleoanthropologist and archaeologist. Okay. Having established a program of anthropological inquiry in East Africa, he also motivated many future generations to continue to work this scholarly work. Now, you're going to see a lot of people follow in the footsteps of Dr. Leakey, as well as Franz Boas when we get to him. We haven't got to Boas yet. Franz Boas is the next character we're going to talk about, but we're going to mention his student first. So this is the dawn of out of Africa theory. This is the dawn. This is the dawn. This is the information. This is how they even came up with the information in the first place, not because anything else, family. Now, the Bible can substantiate claims that the first humanoid was made in Africa, if you believe in that theory. So that's the religious theory. This is the scientific theory of out of Africa. Now, life was happening all over the planet. As we're going to merely mention here in a second about the Aborigine of Australia, who is not African. So if they got their starts in there, why can't everybody else start on a piece of dirt? If the Australians can start on their piece of dirt and always been there, why can't everybody else start on their dirt and always been? If the Africans always been in Africa, why can't everybody else from their dirt just be from their dirt? And I'm saying dirt in respect to the continents. Why can't we just be from there? It's okay. But these European paleoanthropologists and archaeologists and paleontologists created the idea based on their findings. Now, there's no real backing to this crap, man. That's why I said earlier, pseudoscience. Robert Leakey, we won't go through. He has a very interesting background. If you want to read up on him separately from this right here, but this is just for the point of this lecture. He's known for pioneering the study of human evolution in Africa. He's known for pioneering the study of human evolution in Africa. And this stuff becomes almost comical as I continue to go along. You got to ask yourself, who gave them permission to even say, what the hell? Who told y'all, who verified y'all to go do this work? Who said to go do this work? If they didn't treat you right, they're not going to teach you right. And by the time I finish this lecture today, family, you should have more questions than anything about what you were taught and told, and even your children. What are your kids learning in school today? Did you know about Professor Leakey prior to learning about Professor Leakey? Did you know about he had any association with the out of Africa theory? Did he had any influence on the out of Africa theory? Did you know this? Crazy stuff, man. Anyway, let's keep going. Louis' parents, Harry and Mary, were the Church of England missionaries in British East Africa. So he was known to Africa. His parents were missionaries there, and we know how those missionaries got there, right? Colonialism. This is 1824 to 71. It says. Now let's go back to how the missionaries even got there. He was children to missionaries. How did the missionaries get in Africa? I thought y'all was from Europe. Oh, we came here just to teach the Africans about Christ, about God, about Christianity. This is under colonialism, by the way. Harry Leakey was assigned to establish posts of the Church Mission Society. The Church Mission Society, formerly known as the Church Mission Society, is a British Anglican missionary society working for Christians around the world. Founded in 1799, the CMS has attracted over 9,000 men and women to serve as mission partners during its 200-year history. This was a whole society placed in Africa to help convert these people. Remember, the conversion during colonialism started on what was called what? The Inca Vina, right? Remember the Western expansion under the Pope coming out of Spain in 1492. Anybody that was not a Christian, they could do what? Kill them, conquer them, take over, or convert them. This was part of the conversion. All right, let's not get that twisted. Let's continue down. He went to Cambridge. Cambridge is a pretty esteemed institution, collegiate institution. So yeah, they're going for him. See right here, in 1922, the British had been awarded the German East Africa. British had been awarded German East Africa as a part of the settlement of World War I. You see how this is the colonialism talking about, right? This is 1920s, by the way. World War I is 1920s. WW1, 1920s. WW2 is 1940s. So you're going to start seeing Britain, Germans, war, takeover, usurping, colonialism. This is called neo-colonialism. All right, let's get into what he did so we can get past this guy. Here we go. He got some shit over there too. So, all right. I'm gonna go right here. We know from the study of evolution that again and again, various branches of animals stock have become over-specialized, and that over-specialization has led to their extinction. Present-day Homo sapiens is in many physical respects still unspecialized, but in one thing, man, as we know him today, is over-specialized. His brain power is very over-specialized compared to the rest of the physical makeup. And it may well be that his oversized specialization will lead just as surely to his extinction. If we not control our future, we must understand the past better. This is Adam Ancestors, 4th edition, final page. Beginning in 1951, Lewis and Mary began an extensive research at Oldeville, George, a trail trench and bed 2 at BK in 1951. Was followed by more extensive excavation in 1952. They found what Lewis termed Oldiwan slaughterhouse, an ancient bog where animals had been trapped and butchered. Excavation stopped in 1953, but briefly resumed in 1955 with Gene Brown. Excuse me. In 1959, excavation at bed 1 were opened. While Lewis was sick in camp, Mary, his wife, discovered the fossil of skull of OH5 at FLK. I presume that's a site. Paranthropus bois, famously identified as Zenanthropus. So this is Zenanthropus. Under your name category, write down Zenanthropus. Zenanthropus. Zinthropus. Or just write down Zins, Zinj. Zenanthropus. The date for this is going to be 1959. 1959. Write down the word Zinj. Now, Zenanthropus represents the oldest fossil they're going to talk about here in a second, right? So let's keep going. Or members of a different genus ancestry to humans, Lewis opted for Zenanthropus, a decision opposed by Wilfred LaGrosse Clark. We have to find out why did Wilfred LaGrosse Clark go against the decision for Louis Leakey to call this finding Zenanthropus. Okay. Going back in the paragraph, it says the question was whether the fossil belonged to the previous genus discovered by Robert Broom, Paranthropus. Let's see what that is. is a genes extinct hominoid contains two widely accepted species, robustus. However, validity of parapus is contested and sometimes considered to be synonymous with Australopithecus. All right, so they're saying they're basically one and the same species. Robert Broom categorized one thing, and Dr. Leakey is categorizing his finding under the same as Mr. Robert Broom. Wilford Lagros Clark, I guess, challenged that thought. One which attracted the attention of Melvin Bell Grosvenor, the president of the National Geographic Society, the editor of the National Geographic magazine from 57 to 67. Also the grandson of Alexander Graham Bell. Oh, how fucking ironic is that? All right. He's the president of the National Geographic Society. You guys know what the National Geographic is right now. It's a magazine, it's a channel, all kind of stuff. They stay in Africa for all kinds of reasons. That contacted resulted in an article of National Geographic. The largest grant continued to work was Odabo. So due to the findings of Professor Leakey's wife, he got the credit for it. Of course, women's rights hasn't really started yet. It's coming, though. This is 1959. Women's rights are quite not there yet. So he took the credit for it. She probably didn't care. In 1960, geophysicists Jack Evander and Garstner Curtis dated Bayet 1 to be 1.89 million to 1.7 million years ago, confirming the great antiquity of fossil of hominoids in Africa. Here you go, family. Are you learning yet? Are you learning why they say everybody came from Africa right here? Are you seeing why they say this based on this right here? How many of y'all look like this? How many of y'all look like this? They're basing the out of Africa theory, the base finding, according to archaeology. This is the same crap you hear conscious people, the conscious community say all the time. The oldest fossil was found in Africa. The oldest fossil. Ask them what type of fossil was it. Ask them. My goal is to get you guys to stop thinking the way you think. My goal is to get you guys to question information when it's presented to you. You don't have to take it at face value, family. I don't give a fuck who's giving it to you. Me, Crumb, Dr. Eileen, but I don't give a fuck who's giving you the information. Challenge it. But challenge it with love. Challenge it with, hey, I don't quite understand that. Minister, Crumb, I don't quite understand that part. Could you? Because the part that gets on my nerve the most is you guys just listening. You guys just listening. Like, I need active listeners. This is what I require when I come on here. I need active listeners. I'm not here to entertain y'all. But do y'all see why they're saying you're from Africa? Can we start to see the bait? And this is just the oh boy, I got a page turner for you. This is just the beginning. We haven't even got to how many pseudoscientists and pseudo archaeologists and anthropologists are going to come behind this information and just make up some whole other crap that's like, what? We haven't even got to that yet. So this is Zanthropus, also known as Africus robustus. And they put it down at the bottom right here, but 1.89 to 1.7 years ago. If you're wondering why it's going from 1.89 to 1.7, because in BC time, you count backwards. You don't count forward. So it would be 1.75 to 1.89 if we were counting in AD, but we're counting in BC. This is AM, by the way. This is prehistory. It's not even BC time. This is prehistoric time. This is before. It's back when you had dinosaurs and stuff. Whatever that means to you. Okay? Yeah. Absolutely. You guys tracking. You guys are tracking. You see what they was talking about. Even in the movie, those apes were intelligent, but they made them look like savages. Zanthropus. So you go write down Zanthropus, write down 1959. Where? Put Africa. So now you know that the oldest humanoid. Now, as I'm reading through this stuff, do anybody even understand the difference between Homo erectus and Homo sapien sapien? Let's take a look at that. I think that's deserving of us looking into right now. So we got Professor Leakey. He's the one that's accredited for finding the oldest fossil in Africa. And this is another interesting one right here. This is the Australopithecus, a genus of early humanoid that existed in Africa during the Paleocene and early Paleocene. The genre Homo paranthropus and Kenyanthropus evolved from some Australopithecus species. This is the Australian. This is the Aborigine. Now I'm going to separate these Africans from other people from other places on Earth who also originally from there also. Just giving you a heads up about to happen real quick. I'm giving you a heads up. So you can't say that I took you too fast. All right. They're also homo, which is human. Anytime you see the word hominoid, humanoid, just think humanoid. And there's certain things that makes them humanoid as well. All right. This information over here that I'm highlighting, this is the taxonomy. This is called taxonomy. The kingdom, the phyla, the class, the order. This is called taxonomy. And if nothing I'm saying is making sense to you, just write the shit down. Please write it down because you're going to hear it again from other people. I want you guys to be the first ones to hear this information. This is exclusive. Taxonomy. Now it says the earliest known member of the genus existed in Eastern Africa 4.2 million years ago. You got that? The earliest member of this genus. And there are other genus. There's other genome pools. There's other ones that, according to this one, this existed in East Africa 4.2 million years ago. Australopithecus fossil became more widespread throughout the Eastern and South Africa. They indicated the genus was much more widespread of a fossil record, suggesting furthermore becoming 1.9 million years ago or 1.2 million years ago. While none of the groups normally directed assigned this group survived, Australopithecus gave rise to living descendants of the genus Homo emerged for Australopithecus at some time between 3 to 2 million years ago. And here's what I'm saying, family. We can end the whole argument just by saying that this is our planet. And anytime I'm talking, just know that these are your people. These are your people. Now, they're going to cross-reference Dr. Leakey's finding in a second, right here. In 1950, evolutionary biologist Ernest Walter Mayer said that all bipedal apes should be classified into genus Homo. They're making up stuff. This is just what he said. Was a German American. You're going to keep seeing the word German. Watch what I tell you as we go along. Watch how many times you see the word German. Somebody keep count. Just put one for right here. Put one time. And ask yourself, why are they so obsessed with the origin of species? Like, why are they so obsessed with biology and human anatomy and surgery? And what is wrong with y'all? Obsessed. And this is what Dr. Chris Welsing, God rest her soul, what she spoke to as well when it came to the origin of species. And that so-called white people understand that they have a short time. And they have been obsessed with biology and anatomy. And what is wrong with these people? Anyway, Ernest Walter Mayer was a German-American evolutionary biologist. Evolutionary biologists only believed in Darwin's theory of evolution. Only. There's no other way. And they became blood drunk with this idea. And people I'm going to show it to you in a second, like Johan Blumenbach in a second. Johan Blumenbach. We're going to go back in time, then come back in time. Johan Blumenbach. I'm going to show you in a second. They're obsessed with this information. He was also a renowned taxonomist. Remember taxonomy? Carl Linnaeus is the father of taxonomy. See, this shit is deeper than what you think it is. This ain't no entertainment value lecture today. This is actual school today. Okay? This is school. Thank you guys for tapping in. Make sure you share this, by the way. Share this information. Only on Crumb TV. Share this information. He was a tropical explorer, anthropologist, philosopher of biology, and historian of science. His work contributed to the conceptual revolution that led to the something else. The first Australopithecus fossil discovered in East Africa was a boy's skull excavated by Mary Leakey in 1959. It was basically Tanzania. Olduvai Gorge, Tanzania's location. I said Africa earlier, but that's the actual location. The first Australopithecus fossil. Since then, the Leakey family has continued to excavate the gorge, uncovering further evidence for Australopithecus, as well as for Homo sapiens and Homo erectus. Those are 3 different genomes. Somebody in the comment, put the word 3 Genesis. 3 Genesis in the comment. I'll put it in there. And I'm showing you 3 genomes. Australopithecus, Homo habilis, and Homo erectus. That's 3 different genomes. Everybody got that? Homo habilis is an extinct species of archaic man from early Paleocene of East and South Africa about 2.3 years ago to 1.65 million years ago. Upon species description 64, H. habilis was highly contested with many research recommendations. Homo erectus is an extinct species of archaic man from the Paleolithic, with this early occurrence about 2 million years ago. Its specimens are among the first recognizable members of the genus Homo. So it's three different entities we're talking about. Who was the original man? The Asiatic black man, the owner, the maker, the cream of the earth, and the father of the universe. Who was the original man? Who is the original man? All right. Check out the timeline real quick. This is the actual timeline of the Homo habilis. So family, you have to get really, really familiar with understanding what species are given credit for tracking out of Africa and when. Like, you really have to do some research. Because this is what they're saying you look like, what you come from. If you agree with out of Africa theory, this is what these early pseudoscientists are dealing with right here. See this? Most species of Australopithecus were diminutive and gracile, usually standing between 1 to basically 3 feet tall. This is when they give the whole idea to the original pygmies and twas, so on and so forth, out of Africa. This is some Planet of the Apes stuff that they put out. Theories. The fossil records seem to indicate Australopithecus is ancestral to the Homo, which is the modern human. It was assumed that large brain size and precursors bipedalism, but the discovery of Australopithecus with a small brain but developed bipedals upset this theory. They're just theories. You're accepting this crap. Out of Africa theory. It's for all my out of Africa theory people. I'll unravel this shit brick by brick. Keep going. Dr. Louis Leakey. We give him credit for information we just went through right here. So the next name I want you to write down, family. Another strapping, fine young gentleman. His name is going to be Johan Frederick Blumenbach. Now we're going to go backwards. We're going back to 1795, okay? Who was just in 1950. We were just in 1959. Now we're going back to 1795, okay? Put your seatbelt on. Put on your seatbelts. Y'all ready? Make sure y'all still woke out there. Johan Frederick Blumenbach. Write his name down right now. Under your name category, write down Johan Frederick Blumenbach. He was a German. I have any word counters in the comment? Could you write down 2 beside the word German? We're gonna mention Germans a couple more times. I want to just show you guys who's putting this information out. Okay. Hardly any Americans are going to be credited for putting this information out. There's going to be a lot of German people putting out information about so-called blacks in America, however, comma. Now, they called the blacks over there at that time in the 40s Rhineland bastards. I can show you that too. Rhineland, R-H-I-N-E-L-A-N-D, Rhineland bastards. Because the German believe that there's 3 pure races. That's the Alpine, Nordic, and the Aryan races. Those are the 3 pure races they only care about. Okay, but they arrived at this conclusion by way of pseudoscience. And I'm showing you guys the pseudoscience to have you guys unscrupulously calling yourself black, colored, and Negroes. In the Moorish Science Temple, they teach us that Negro, black, and colored were all labels put on us by slaveholders. And that lasted till about 1866. Now there's a new era in time where you must proclaim out loud your new national name and worship under your own vine and fig tree. These are a bunch of foreign people putting labels on you. Anytime foreign people put labels on you, you know what that's called? It's called an exonym. Exonym. Exonyms are what other groups of people call other people. Endonyms, what you call yourself. So you're saying that you're an exonym. I know these words sound weird and crazy, but this is what scholarship looks like. This is what, Minister, how you remember? Listen, this is how I study. You guys are spending about 2 hours in the mind of M.O.I. You're in my mind today, okay? This is what I go through. Welcome. Johan Blumenbach, German physician, naturalist, whatever this is. What's this is? You see what I'm saying? Make up shit. This all comes out of the blood vein of them being what do you call them? Those theo societies of just thinkers and inventors when they ain't invent nothing, just thinking. Anthropologist, he is considered to be one of the main founders of zoology. Write down zoology. He's considered to be a main founder of zoology. You know who else is another founder of zoology? Samuel Morton. We're going to get to him in a second. I'm going to give you way more names. I only gave you, I think, 2 names so far. 3 names. Leakey, Xanthropus, and Blumenbach. These are the pseudoscientists. These are the anthropologists. These are the people who be given credit for labeling your ass what you've been labeled. This is real school. He is considered to be one of the main founders of zoology. See, zoology and taxonomy, once you define zoology and taxonomy, then you're able to put any species on the planet into these categories, and they'll stick like flypaper. So you've been placed into a category of a subspecies. And because they thought that you were a subspecies, all throughout the 1920s, all throughout the 60s, they separated you from people. You couldn't eat with people. You couldn't drink with people. Hell, you weren't even a people. This is how they got to that conclusion, through science. White people didn't wake up one day and make this stuff up. No, they spent years. They spent years and a lot of Carnegie and Rockefeller money to put this stuff together. This is 1795. 1795, Blumenbach creates the categories for humans. Before 1795, there were no Caucasians because the word had not been made yet. There was no word for it. Blumenbach's classification of single human species into 5 varieties, later called races. They were not even called race. What the hell y'all talking about? Race wasn't even a thing. Race was not even a thing in the 1700s. Race was not a thing yet. You either belonged to the crown or you didn't. Blumenbach's classification of single human species into 5 varieties, which later became known as races. So before the word race on the application, you see species. Species? Yeah, we're trying to figure out what to call everybody. Why don't you just call us what we are? That'll never work. We gotta reclassify y'all something else. This is the first reclassification effort right here, family. Now they're still digging, trying to figure out who the oldest and who did what and who from where, and we can't tell these Negroes this information. Let's tell them the opposite, the reverse of it. Let's teach the reverse information to them. They'll believe anything. The Caucasian or the white race, Blumenbach was first to use this term for Europeans. He was the first to use this term to refer to Europeans. And he also included Middle Eastern and South Asian to the same category. The Mongoloid or the yellow man, the Malayan or the brown man, the Ethiopian or the black race, the American or the red race. That's where you get yellow, red, and crayon from. From this dude, Johan Blumenbach, a freaking pseudoscientist. Blumenbach assumed that all morphological difference between varieties that were included by the climate and the way they live, emphasizing that they had different morphology, were very small. Gradually, the transcendently connected that it was possible to separate these varieties clearly. He also noted that skin color was unsuitable for designating varieties. Skin color was unsuitable for distinguishing varieties. Skin color was unsuitable for distinguishing varieties. Although Blumenbach did not propose any hierarchy among the 5 varieties, he placed Caucasian form in the center in his description of being the most primitive or primeval, one from which the other forms degenerated. In the 18th century, 1700s, in the 18th century, however, these terms did not have the negative connotation they possess today. At the time, primitive or primeval described the ancestral form, while the degeneration was understood as the process of change leading to variety adapting to new environment by being exposed to a different climate and diet. Hence, he argued, the physical characteristics like skin color, cranial profile, etc., depending on the geographical diet and mannerism. Further, the anatomic study led him to the conclusion that individual Africans differ as much or even more from other Africans as from Europeans. Get out of your cotton picking mind, man. These are the individuals who brought you this information. And at no time Do we question them? We just sit around and wait for anybody to tell us anything, and then we go on be like evening. That you're from Africa, and you believe you're from Africa. And what information you got to prove you from Africa? You don't even know. You don't even know. There's more proof that you belong here than you belong there, because you're basing off your skin color. And that's the only thing you're doing. Because you got wiry hair, wide nose, thick lips. You're thinking you come from over there with them. And there was no real proof. Even in their theories, family, they still struggle to find cause and reason that it was true that everybody comes from Africa. Hold on. I'm trying to pull up something. I put this video on TikTok a while ago, and I reposted recently. I don't know why it's not going to post. Hold on. TikTok hating on me. I'm trying to play this video. TikTok won't let me do it. All right, we'll come back to it. Oh, here it is. Here we go. Let's go to the 1790s. Now, we just talked about Johan Blumenbach, 1793, 1795. Y'all got that? 1793, 1795. Johan Blumenbach literally creates race. And these are the categories of race according to Johann Friedrich Blumenbach, a German anthropologist, scientist. We got that part? Now, the Americans, the red race, included all Native Americans, while the Ethiopian included all sub-Saharan Africans. Sub-Saharan Africans were black people. I'm not, okay, maybe you guys are missing that shit. I don't know. Right there, see right here? The Ethiopian or black race included all sub-Saharan Africans. So you would have to believe that you're a sub-Saharan African to even be categorized as black in 1793, 1795, when the category races was even first created. That means all those dark-skinned folks who knew they were not African booty scratchers, they belong right here. All of them, all of them, all of them. The copper-colored people, all y'all are called Native Americans. 1793, 95. Why was it so important, family? Because in the 1790s, they had the first U.S. Census. Now we got to count everybody. This is 5 years before Johan came up with the categories of species. Is this a coincidence or what? Is this a coincidence? It's the fact that, hold on, wait a minute. We got to count everybody, but what are we going to call everybody? Shit, I don't know. We don't have anything to call them yet. This is 1790. What we just saw right here doesn't happen to 1793. The categories for the races. So what were the categories prior to these categories? Let's investigate. The questions for the columns included name of head of family, number of free white males over 16, number of free white males under 16, number of free whites, number of all other persons, number of slaves. Wait a minute. So we just count white people? Yeah, just count the white people. We're not worried about no. It's too many of them. They all out in the woods and shit. We can't get to everybody. Go to Knock on these doors, though. These are for the colonies. This is 1790. What just happened in 1776, family, according to history? Revolutionary War. We got our freedom now. Not we, as in me, but as the Europeans. Now let's go through the country and categorize everybody and count everybody. The reason they had to count free white males because they had enslaved white males. Number of all other free persons. Remember that term, number of all other free persons. Write that down, number of all other free persons. They're collecting data. Let me see, give me a second. See, those are the categories. Free white males, over 16, under 16, free white females, all other persons. And then you got slaves. Let's see how many slaves were in Georgia. 29,264 slaves in Georgia. Were these black slaves or white slaves? Or were these just slaves, period? I'm a little bit confused. Who were slaves? It says category B. 0 is the correct figure, and 16 here should be added. All other free persons column. When the census of 1790 was published in 1791, it reported 16 slaves, which were illegal in Vermont. Sequentially, upon 1860, the number is given at 17. The examination of the original manuscript by the Census Bureau superintendent found there were never any slaves in Vermont. Not only are they miscounting, they're miscategorizing. They're miscategorizing you too. Okay? The original error occurred in preparing the results for publication when 16 persons returned as free colored. They were classified as slaves in Bennington County. How many times y'all thought this happened? This is just the first Census Bureau. There's several other censuses being taken. And as I can show you, as the census got to be taken in the early 1800s, mid 1800s, all the way through, the categories changed. Then you start to see different races appear up there, because now Johan Blumenbach, go back to his ass. Johan Blumenbach in 1793 had already sought up the preamble for what race was. Blumenbach's classification of a single human species into 5 varieties are later called races. That's what a race is. That's where they come from. They're species. How did you collect the species information? Oh, we would start digging in the dirt and excavating and carbon dating and making up names like Australopithecus, Africa robustus, Zanthropus, that we know that these black people have never heard of before in their life. They think they're Negro, blacks, and coloreds just by happenstance. No, it was socialization, assimilation, all part of a distinct discipline called science. History is also a discipline that they created. Okay, so I'm trying to walk y'all through how it happened. It said the Census Bureau superintendent found that there never were any slaves in Vermont. Let's go to Vermont real quick. Vermont slaves. It says 16 slaves in Vermont, 158 in New Hampshire, none in Maine, none in Massachusetts, 948 slaves in Connecticut, 2,000 slaves in Connecticut, 21,000 slaves in New York. Looks like Virginia had the highest number of slaves at just below 500,000 people in Virginia, looks like, according to this Census Bureau chart populated in 1790. At 17.8%, the 1790 census portion of slaves in free population was the highest ever recorded by any census of the United States. 1790, this was the peak time of slavery. There was no cotton in 1790. Okay? 17.8%, the 1790 census proportions of slaves to free population was the highest ever recorded by any U.S. Census of the United States. Any of them. This is the highest right here, 1790. There was no cotton picking yet. That means all those photos on Google you see of us in cotton fields that don't belong to this. You're not going to find any 1790 photos of Negroes doing nothing because these were white slaves. Don't believe me? Okay, stay with me. And the whole point is to get you out your cotton picking mind, to get you out of the mindset you've been in. Let's read B one more time. 0 is the correct figure, and the 16 here should be added to the all other free person column. When the 1790, when the census of 1790 was published in 1791, it reported 16 slaves, which were illegal in Vermont. Sequentially, up to 1860, the number is given as 17. So they've been counting slaves wrong from 1791 to 1860, at least in Vermont, because Vermont was not a slave state, supposedly. Now, this becomes important due to voting rights, too. The 3/5 compromise comes a little bit later. An examination of the original manuscript by the Census Bureau superintendent found that there were never any slaves in Vermont. The original error occurred in preparing the results for publication when 16 persons returned as free colored. Write down the word free colored. Who were free colored? Free colored. Right below free colored, I want you guys to write down freedmen. 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 Now I'm going to show you freedmen and free people of color are two different categories of Negroes in America. Two different people. Two different people. Hiram Revels, first black senator of Mississippi, free person of color. Never was a slave, never been a slave. Nobody's family was ever slaving, picking no cotton, doing none of that stuff. That means he has a whole generation of people who has never seen the plantation, not in the respect they show you in movies. I'm willing to bet there are a lot of other people I'm going to show you by numbers who were free people of color also, who never dealt with none of that slavery stuff. Meaning, if we can get in the time machine, all of us on this chat right now, if we can hop in the time machine and go back and talk to the families who were always freedmen and tell them about the atrocities of slavery, they would look at us like we fucking crazy. Like, what are you talking about? No, slavery, they be beating y'all. They're like, what? There's nobody. What are you talking about? They would be more confused back then if we showed up with this information than anything. Because everybody was not a slave. Everybody was not being beaten. Everybody was not subject to that treatment. This is not disregarding the ones who were. I want you guys to understand that this is not your story necessarily. There's another side to the coin. That's the whole point of this. There's three sides to the story. Their side, the other side, and the truth. This is partially the truth. There's more to it. Free people of color end up on the category for Vermont versus the slaves. They were not slaves in the first place. How many other times did this happen? I wonder. How many other times did this happen? Keep in mind, these right here are just 13 colonies. This is not the entirety of America. The 13 colonies. At the 1790 Census Bureau, it was 13 colonies. They got Southwestern Territory, but it's undefined. They don't know what it is yet. The Great Lake Territory haven't signed up yet. They haven't had the Indian War. The French Indian War hadn't happened yet. I think the Treaty of Paris had been put out too. Hold on. Let me check my notes. Treaty of Paris. I didn't write it down. Let me check something real quick, family. Hold on. Give me one mic. Let me check something real quick. Treaty of Paris. I think it was 1783. Okay, there we go. So the Treaty of Paris, 1783. We're talking about 1790 Census Bureau. So, and I only looked up the Treaty of Paris because I saw that they had the Southwest Territory on there. And this is history. United States that existed from May 1790 to July 1st, 1796, when it admitted the United States as a, let's read the whole thing, because now I'm curious. The territory of the South River, Ohio, most commonly known as Southwest Territory, was an organized, incorporated territory of the United States that exists from 1790 of May to June 1st of 1796, when they admitted to the United States as the state of Tennessee. The Southwest Territory was created by the Southwest Ordinance from lands of Washington, D.C., had been succeeded by the United States federal government by North Carolina. The territory lone governor was William Blount. How did they get access to the Southwest Territory? That's the question. And they gained access to the Southwest Territory, not manifest destiny. Calm down. That's later. Treaty of Paris of 1783. This treaty signed September 3rd, 1783, between the American colonists and Great Britain ended the American Revolution and formalized to recognize the United States as an independent nation. And there are other Treaty of Paris too. The one of 63. The terms of Treaty of Paris were so harsh, loosening France. All French territories on the mainland of North America was lost. The British received Quebec and Ohio Valley, the port of Louisiana and Louisiana Territory, West Mississippi, succeeded to Spain in efforts to the British ally. 1763, Louisiana, Mississippi belonged to Spain. Spain sold it to France. France sold it back to us as Louisiana Purchase, okay? Spain owned Louisiana before France. Check Treaty of Paris, 1763. Treaty of 1898. There's another Treaty of Paris. And I'm just moving on a timeline. This is a timeline. Anyway, back to this. 1790 Census Bureau, we're focusing on the fact that there were free people of color mentioned and miscategorized. They were miscategorized on the 1790 census. Ain't that something? Now, along the 1790 census, something else also happened for white people along the lines for what Mr. Johan Blumenbach did for his people, categorizing the races, giving rise to the word Caucasian. 1790, what was it called? What was it called? There we go. 1790, besides Johan Blumenbach giving you guys species and became the race, black, yellow man, brown man. This is where it's come from. This is a source of information. Blumenbach, 1793. 1790, you get the first U.S. Census Bureau for free white person, free white male over 16, under 16, free white female, others, slaves, so on and so forth. 1790, this is also called the Naturalization Act. They had to do a naturalization act because you're naturalized to the land. You have a nationalization. They had to naturalize themselves. Write this down. You don't have to naturalize yourself. You are nationals. Nationalization and naturalization, not the same thing. This 1790 act, the word act means law. Okay? An act. It was passed. Judicial branch, legislative branch. The 1790 Act set the new nation's naturalization procedures. It limited access to U.S. citizenship to white immigrants, in effect, to people of Western Europe who had resident in the U.S. for at least 2 years, their children under 21 of age. It also granted citizenship to children born abroad. Let's dig in. The Naturalization Act of 1790 was a law, still is, never got overturned, was a law of the United States Congress that set the first uniform rules for granting the United States citizenship by naturalization. The main change to the 95 Act, it increased the time period of required residence in the United States before aliens could be naturalized from 2 to 5 years. An act established to uniform the rule of naturalization, repeated act henceforth passed to subject. The act omitted the term natural born. They had to. And characterization of a children born outside the U.S. citizen parents, the act repeated the limitations of 1790. Naturalization was reserved for only free white persons. This is only reserved for free white persons. Now, do you see why the U.S. Census Act of 1790? The categories were what? Free white person, preferably landowners, because then they can vote. This was the preamble for everything else we see in America dealing with race, segregation. This is why in the 1700s, people like, what's his name? Crispus Attucks was also a civil rights leader in the 1700s. Let's go to the comments. Hope you guys are following along, man. All right. Had to check the comments real quick. Make sure I'm not losing nobody. We're about an hour and 30 minutes in. Listen, y'all, all week long, different times of the week, I'm gonna be tapping in on Chrome TV, going live. I'm gonna continue my rant. This is called The Real Revolutionaries. The Real Revolutionaries is basically dealing with showing you how they got the land, how they acquired the land. We dealt with it a little bit the other day. And I'm going to go back in on the 13 penal colonies. So the 13 penal colonies, the Real Revolutionaries, and get out your cotton picking mind are all part of my efforts, a 3-part series for me to explain the historicity. Because I was telling myself it's too much information. Like, we could spend, I don't know how much time just on this one topic right here. We can spend a lot of time on this topic right here, the 13 penal colonies, because I think when I last ended, I didn't even leave Earth yet. I'm gonna leave Earth next time and show you about the real colonial powers above them. And this shows you this for some people, the real revolutionary lecture may be a little bit dry for some people. It's not for me because I love all of it. It's gonna be a lot of reading of statutory situations, of documents, and who said what, and we're gonna go take a trip through Parliament and monarchs. We're gonna lay out some people, some key people throughout history who played a huge part in dividing this great nation up and taking land from certain people. We talk about a lot of chiefs, chiefdoms. We're gonna go in. So again, this is my effort to decalcify some of the teaching that's been taught so far about so-called Negroes. All right, back to this. Isn't it funny, family, that they came up with this? Hold on. Blumenbach, 1793. Hope you guys taking good notes, man. The category of humans, you can put species, the word species beside his name, and out to the side, put the word race. Where did race come from? Who invented the idea of race, of races? Now, when Johan Blumenbach created the idea of races known as species, that's when the superiority complex comes in, because the Caucasians are said to be the top, the apex of the category. Then shortly after this guy right here, I'm going to show you Charles Darwin, who came in with the survival of species. Sorry, the origin of species, survival of the fittest. And they decreed that the Caucasian race were the most befitted race to be the superior race out of the category that Johan Blumenbach created. And certain stigmas were given to those names. Like, if you were black, you should be lazy. If you were Mongoloid, you should be, I think, like critical thinker, strategic, words like that. The Caucasian became superior, supreme, and words like that, right? And the top 3 species, I told you earlier, write down the word, to please write down the word taxonomy. In the taxonomy of the Caucasian species, you have 3 top tier species: Alpine, Nordic, Aryan. Those are the 3 top priority species in the Caucasian race. In the 1940s, that becomes very clear who the supreme race is in the 1940s, according to who? German scientists. But the dupe is, where do German scientists say they got the idea from in the first place? Okay? Give me a second. Get a download. Got to take notes. All right. He based his research on skulls, by the way, just cranometer, based on measuring skulls. And he said because the skulls are white, white is superior. I promise you. Crazy. He established 5 parts naming system in 1795, excuse me, to describe what he called generis, humanis, varietas, quintus, principis, species, verona, eucanis. 5 principal varieties of humankind, but 1 species. In his view, humans could be divided into varieties. Only in his later work, he adopted the term race, which had been introduced by others. He was aware that a clear separation was difficult. All nations differ in one form or another, in a form or color or human body. So while they're trying to figure out the origin of species, for instance, in the 1790s, this is the Caucasian scientific community. The political community of Caucasians are also about to snuff us out under what's called Naturalization Act. So you see how this shit was happening at the same time, simultaneously? Had nothing to do with one another, literally in the same context, in the same building. Like Johan Blumenbach wasn't downstairs while Congress was upstairs. Like, it didn't happen that way. This was a global situation where all Europeans were trying to figure out what to do with these Negroes. The more we dig, the blacker the planet gets. Who are they? Who are these people? 1795, Blumenbach, Naturalization Act. Let's read what happens. The act omitted the term natural born. They can't be. That makes you nationalized if you're natural born, but you're not nationalized, are you, Europeans? You're not from here, really, are you? No, you're not from here. So they naturalized themselves to this land called America. They naturalized themselves. They're not really from here either. Okay?
Say, hold up, wait a minute, something ain't right.
They're not from here. Let's continue to read this stuff, man. Pre-1795, before 1795, naturalization law was governed primarily by the Naturalization Act of 1790, of which we just had the liberty of reading. It was set forth by Congress. The law limited naturalization to free white persons of good character, thus excluding Native Americans. The Naturalization Act of 1790, I'm reading the whole thing for y'all. The Naturalization Act of 1790 was a law of the United States Congress that set first uniform rules for granting United States citizenship by naturalization. The law limited naturalization to free white persons of good character, thus excluding Native Americans, indentured servants who were also white, enslaved people, free Africans, Pacific Islanders, and non-white Asians. This eliminated ambiguity on how to treat newcomers. Given that free black people had been allowed citizenship at the state level in many states, given that free Black people were already citizens. Not the slaves, but there were a group of people who were already free Black people who had been allowed citizenship at the state level in many states. Because I was wondering how we got a first Black senator, Hiram Revels, and I was wondering why they was talking about this Black dude being the first president of the Continental Congress. I'm like, how can Black people be presidents when they're not citizens? They taught us about citizenship in the 60s, right? Civil rights. Remember that, Dr. King, them? This is 1790. This is 200 and some odd years prior to the civil rights movement in the 60s. I can really blow your top and show you the civil rights movement of the 1700s. Yeah, it goes back that far. So anyway, given that free Black people had been allowed citizenship, and that this really should be mind-boggling of how in the 1790s, it's supposed to be a time of slavery, and we say 400 years of slavery, which that doesn't make sense to me because the country is only 200 and something years old. So I don't know. Maybe somebody in the chat can put me on game on 400 years of slavery in North America. Can somebody put the dates in the chat for me so we can go check the receipts? Because 1790, Black people were free already in 1790. That means they were free in 1700. They were probably free before then. How did they become enslaved? Oh, man, bad contracts. I can show you about the bad contracts that they signed too. These are contractual situations. Everybody of color were not swinging hoes and swinging shovels and picking cotton. I'm going to keep showing you. So you can get your cotton picking mind. I'm going to keep showing you. All right. So we learned about that. Naturalization Act. Please learn more about it. The Plantation Act of 1740 or the Naturalization Act of 1740. Are common names used for the act of British Parliament that was officially titled an Act for naturalizing such foreign Protestants and therein mentioned as are settled or shall settle in His Majesty Kingdom. I like that better. Write down the Plantation Act of 1740. I want you to ask all your friends who don't listen to M.O.I. You ever heard of the Plantation Act of 1740? And you wait and you see what they say it is. And if anything dealing with slaves come out their mouth, you correct them. No, actually, it was when white people got naturalized to America under His Majesty's plantation. This is a plantation. All 48 territories are plantations. Okay? We got that? There was official title, an act for naturalizing such foreign Protestants and other therein mentioned as are settled or shall settle in His Majesty colonies in America, and use its provisions concerning time, oath of allegiance. This is the Pledge of Allegiance that you took right here, and the process of swearing before a judge, etc. This is the process of swearing before a judge. It's called your oath. You swear to tell the truth, nothing but the truth to help you God. Governmental Ordinance Department. All under the Plantation Act. All right, let's move on. Blumenbach, 1790. U.S. Census, 1790. Naturalization Act, 1790. You should have all that. We talked about Dr. Leakey. Talked about Dr. Leakey. We talked about, let's go back, the U.S. I forgot this right here. The U.S. Census. Add this real quick. Enumeration. The sixth inquiry on the 1790 call for the name of the head of the family and the number of persons in each household of following description. Free white males of 16, so on and so forth. They already read that already. Or free slaves counting. Members of every household, including free blacks, were listed free in the free schedules. enslaved blacks were documented numerically in the slave section. They did not actually list the name of slaves except on rare occasion. In 1790, set the initial rule of naturalization: free white person of good character who had been resident for 2 or more years. The law excluded Native Americans, indentured servants, enslaved persons, free blacks, and Asians. They were not considered to be American. How did they become American? Like this? Yeah, but Webster's dictionary said, I know what the dictionary said, but this is how they became Americans. Not under no Dawes Roll, not under no $5 Indian Act. Europeans became Americans under the Naturalization Act of 1790. Okay? We understand that now? The census for black people was 1870. As the first census after the Civil War, in 1870 census, the first to include African Americans by naming along the rest of the population, is often the first official record of surname of former slaves. So everything that happened in the 1700s, matter of fact, watch this. Let's type in slavery in America. Let's go to images. All right. None of this stuff has anything to do with North America in the 1700s, okay? Like, for example, this picture right here was the second Atlantic slave trade of the 1860s. 1619, slavery in America didn't start in Jamestown. These 20 odd so Africans are from another ship that got intercepted and brought to Hampton, Virginia. This is it as far as the African comes to North America. Again, my plight is not to say the transatlantic slave trade did not happen. My job is to educate the so-called Negroes in North America about how the story really happened. Sixteen nineteen. 20 Africans came to the shores of North. That's it. Now, let's go back to this, because getting off track. Remember we started here, right? With the out of Africa theory. Okay. Next person to write down. We almost finished. Write down Melville J. Hurkowitz. Melville J. Hurkowitz. Write him down. He's an important character too. Oh, that's a great question right here. My question is, who gave these aliens the power to do this? Oh boy. You did. That's who. Not saying you specifically, but your grandma them. Let me show you how. They claim what's called ecclesiastical authority. Let's look it up. Ecclesiastical authority. Oh no. I can't do my voice thing. Hold on, y'all. Oh, we ain't doing all that. Y'all think I just be showing y'all this stuff? Just be showing y'all this stuff. This stuff is they really go by this stuff, okay? Because your mama and grandma, everybody them be giving their power to who? Jesus. Something about the name Jesus. Oh, Jesus, save us. Save me, Jesus. The Pope stands in the place of Jesus himself as the vicar of Christ on earth. He is the head of the Catholic Church and has near 1.3 billion Catholics, the army of God, and his responsibility for salvation of all the souls throughout the entire world. We believe that Jesus chose. It goes into Saint, what's his name? Peter or whatnot. But as you can see, the Pope reigns supreme. Why is that important? Why is that important? Like, who cares about? Okay, well, listen. Here we go. Oh, hold on, family. Always put the wrong thing in there. This is for wakened soul, no sleep. Your question was, who gave these aliens the power to do this? So I just showed you the Pope is the vicar of Christ, right? So Pope has what's called ecclesiastical authority. He has dominion over the entire world. And if I get time, I can explain it to you as well. But let's just say the Pope is the HNIC of the planet. And they even show you on churches how they reign supreme over the whole earth. You just don't pay attention to what it is. The doctrine of discovery. So Awakened Soul, write down the doctrine of discovery. I'm not going to go into it, but go back and study the doctrine of discovery. And the important thing is who issued this document. The Papal Bull Inter Terra, issued by Pope Alexander VI on May 4th, 1493, conveniently a couple months after Columbus says that, yeah, let's go get him in 1492, right? In 93, this is what happened under the consecration of Pope Alexander. I just showed you the Pope has all the power. How they got the power? Let me show you. Let me see if I can pull it up. Oh, boy, I ain't get some long time. You're making me go back. This is the symbol of the Catholic Church. You see that cross on top of that ball? That means that they have supremacy over the earth, over the whole earth. They have supremacy over the whole earth. That's what that cross on top of that ball means. Let's see if we can find the symbol of earth. I did this stuff a long time ago. So there you go. All they did was took the cross and they lifted it out of the circle and put it on top. This is a symbol of earth. This is the actual symbol for earth. They took the cross and put it on top by saying that the church has erected as supreme the Catholic Church over the earth. Let's look up what this word means real quick, in case you think I'm bullshitting. Globus cursumtum, also known as Scrabble Sephara. The orb in the cross is the orb surmounted by the cross. It has been a Christian symbol of authority since the Middle Ages, used on coins, iconography, scepter, and royal regalia. It's the Christian symbol of authority propagated by the Pope, who is the vicar of Christ. Let's read more about Jesus in this thing. The cross laid over the globus represents Christ's dominions over the world. The cross laid over the globe represents Christ's dominion over the world, literally held in the hands of the worthy earthly ruler. Who is the earthly ruler? It's the goddamn Pope. An iconograph of Western art, when Christ himself holds the globe, he is called the Salvator Mundor, savior of the world. For instance, 16th century infant Jesus of Pagos stood in the global securum. That's how they got the power to do it. And all us Negroes are giving up our energy to this thing. And this is also what they do. In hoc signo vince. In this sign we shall conquer. The whole world in his hand. He got the whole world in his hand. The Pope don't answer to nobody. What are y'all talking about? The Pope don't answer to nobody. Not here on earth. The Pope don't answer to nobody on earth. Nobody he answers to is on earth. Nobody. The Pope don't answer to no human being on earth. Not a one. Now he has a council. His council keeps him in check. Okay. That's the word you're looking for right there. Globus securicor, whatever it's called. The cross laid over the globe represents Christ's dominion over the world. And the Pope, since Christ's not here, since Christ is not here, the Pope can stand in the place of Jesus himself, called the Vicar of Christ. The Pope stands in his place. That means the Pope has the whole world in his hand. That's how they do it, or how they did it. That's what the hell the Indicaterra Convenient was for. This is what this right here was. Them claiming dominion over the whole world. Wherefore, as has become Catholic kings and princesses, for earnest consideration of all matters, especially of the rise and the spread of the Catholic faith, especially for the rise of the Catholic faith, as was the fashioning of your ancestors, kings of renown, memory, you have proposed with the favor of divine clemency. Divine clemency. Let's look at what divine clemency means. It's very important also. Divine clemency. Let's look it up. Divine clemency. The quality of being clement, disposition to show forbearance, compassion, or forgiveness in judging or punishing, leniency and mercy. Divine clemency, which the favor of divine clemency to bring under your sway the said mainlands and islands with their resident and inhabitants, to bring them to the Catholic faith, to spread Catholicism, bring them to the Catholic faith. But sprout hope and trust in your hearts, the Almighty God will further your undertakings and end in your order, that you may enter upon the great undertakings with greater readiness and heartiness, endowed with benefits of apostolic favor. We, of our own record, not at your instance, nor request of anyone else in your regard, but out of your own soul largeness, certain knowledge of the fullness of our apostle power, by the authority of Almighty God, conferred upon the blessed Peter and vicarship of Jesus Christ, which we hold on earth, to be our tender these presents. Should any of said islands have been found by your envoys and captains, give, grant, and assign to you by your heirs and successors, kings of Castile and Leon, forever together with all their dominion, cities, camps, palaces, places and villages, in all rights, jurisdiction, and appurtenances, all islands and mainland found and to be found, discovered, and to be discovered towards the west and south, by drawing an establishment line from the Arctic pole, namely the north, and Arctic pole, namely the south, no matter whether the said mainlands and islands are found or to be found direct of India or towards any other quarters, the said line may be distinct 100 leagues towards west south from other islands commonly known as Arizona or Cape Verde. And it goes on in detail, telling you how they took this shit. It's called the Doctrine of Discovery, aka Indicaterra Convenient, they call it. The Doctrine of Discovery. Next time somebody mentioned 1492, ask them what happened the following year. See, these are questions you have to ask people. and stop taking shit at face value. Excuse my language, y'all, but y'all, we got to do better. We just be believing stuff. Y'all better start questioning these TikTok people, these people on YouTube telling y'all information. And I mean, you better question all of them, even myself. Don't spare me. Don't even spare me. Dr. Discovery. That's how. I just wanted to deal with that one question. All right. Out of Africa theory. Melville J. Herkovich. We got a couple more points I got to get out of here, but write his name down. He's an interesting fella. What is he known for? Herkovich, founder of Northwestern University Anthropology Department, 1938, and the founder of the University Program of African Study in 1948. Prior to 1948, nobody was saying they was from Africa. Prior to this, there were no studies of subsequence. Let me say that word. Of word mentioning prior. You know who came prior to Melvin Herkovich? Write his name down. See, we got names now. Oh boy. They don't give us this Skynet. We got names now. You know, ancestors really couldn't give you names. We know who did what now. We're smart now. Out of Africa theory. Anybody with the out of Africa theory has mentioned, let me try this. In the comments right now, if you've ever heard of any of this information, put 111. If you ever have heard of this information, put 111. If you've never heard of this information, put 222. If you've heard of this before, put 111. If you've never heard of this shit, put 222. Now, the ones who've heard this information, have y'all heard this much information about what y'all heard, though? Because just hearing some shit is one thing. But actually showing the connection of how Johan Blumenbach in 1790 and the Naturalization Act 1790 and the Census Bureau all in the same year. Like, what are they doing? Now, the information about people like, what's his name? Albert Flecker, House of Interior, how they went in there and changed those records. Paper genocide. Now it's more believable, right? Not saying it wasn't believable, but now it's more believable. Oh, they've been doing it for a long time. This is your father of African study. He learned from his father. His father was Franz Boas. Write down Franz Boas. Now, you have two names. I gave you two names who are the fathers of what? Look, we're going to say it right here. Oh, where's it at? Hold on. Let me find it. Because they give you all who he was. Postgraduate studies. Now, Franz Boas was a very learned brother. Not brother, but you know. He was a very learned man. A very learned man. But that's not what we want, though. There we go. There we go. One of the greatest accomplishments of Boas and his students, he had a whole occult. He had master students too. He had master students. Franz Boas had master students, and he had disciples of his study. And a lot of his disciples, a lot of his master students are the reason that a lot of this information got brought back to North America and put out in these universities in North America. One of the greatest accomplishments of Boas and his students was their critique of the theory of physical, social, and cultural evolution current at that time. The critique is central to Boas' work in museum, as well as his work in all four fields of anthropology. Now, Boas was an anthropologist. I'm going to go back to Herkovitz in a minute, Melville in a minute, but Boas was the teacher of Melville Herkovich. And why are we talking about Melville Herkovich and Boas? Because we're talking about the fathers of African studies. Yeah, these were the people like Dr. John Henry Clark and Chancellor Williams, they were on the opposite side. And it was a little bit later too, by the way. This is a little bit earlier, before Dr. Van Sertima and everybody else, a little bit before. We got our black scholars in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. That's Van Sertima, Chancellor Williams, John G. Jackson. And if you don't know any of those names I just said, I'm going to say them real slow again. John G. Jackson. If y'all black tail, don't write that name down and go look at who John G. Jackson is. A lot of y'all don't know who he is. Chancellor Williams. Write down Chancellor Williams. And of course, Ivan Van Sertima. Those are just three. Many more, but those are just three I can think of off the top when it comes to African studies. Boas. In fact, Boas supported Darwin's theory. I'm right here in the reading, so I'm jumping around the reading. In fact, Boas supported Darwin's theory. What the hell was Darwin's theory? What was Darwin's theory? Well, Darwin's theory was much how the picture shows. Minister, they, upright walking apes from Zen evolved over thousands of years and turned into humans. And then they built the pyramids. And here we are. Although he did not assume that automatically applied to the culture, a historical phenomenon, as indeed was a lifelong opponent of the 19th century theory, cultural evolution. Now, we do have evolution, but cultural evolution is something that has to be challenged with the out of Africa theory. Write down the word cultural evolution. And my question to y'all is, y'all ready? When the Africans were brought to North America on the Atlantic slave trade, why did they stop being African? One more time. If you're a believer that Negroes were brought by the thousands to North America, now there's Central and South America for sure, but North America, the 48 colonies that I'm concerned with, if you believe that, then what made them stop being African? Meaning their cultural evolution changed quite a bit, didn't it? They went from traditional dancing thing to one day we got Michael Jackson, we got Tina Turner, we got Whitney Houston, we got Aretha Franklin, we got Patti LaBelle, and I'm naming those names because you won't find those people over in Africa to this day. You're not going to find a Patti LaBelle over there. Hell, the people over here were so cool, they invented a whole genre of music twice. We invented R&B. We invented hip hop. Then it went to Africa. So why didn't the Africans who were brought here the first time, how did they stop becoming, why did they cease being African? I'm confused. If you were taken to America, you wouldn't cease being American. You wouldn't cease your cultural relevancy. Like your culture would not evolve in the manner you saw so-called Africans coming to North America and their culture evolving into something else. The African culture is steeped in tradition for thousands of years, let alone 200 years. Cultural evolution, write that down. Such as Lewis H. Morgan, Edward Burton Taylor, the notion of evolution that Boasen ridiculed and rejected was then the dominant belief in this particular study. Orthogenesis. Orthogenesis is also known as orthonic evolution, progressive evolution, evolutionary progress, or progressivism. It is an obsolete biological hypothesis, an obsolete hypothesis theory. You're going to keep hearing theory and hypothesis. It's just a thought, y'all. It's not real. the organism have an innate tendency to evolve in definite direction towards some goal. That's what orthogenesis is. Let's go on to some more stuff. The difference between these privileged theories and cultural evolution, Darwin's theories, cannot be overstated. The orthogenicists argued that all societies progress through the same stages and sequence. Thus, although the Inuit, who Boas worked at Baffin Island, and the Germans, I got a German counter in there too. In the comments, that's like 4 times for Germans, right? 3 or 4 times. I said German. Germans are going to be deep in this conversation. Trust me. So Boas worked with this group right here called the Inuit. Inuit are a group of culturally and historically similar indigenous people traditionally inhabited the Antarctic region of North America, including Greenland, Liberia, Quebec. Those are the people who came over in the Bering Straits. These are Mongoloids. Genetic genome pool, they come from what's called pecan man. Pecan. I'm only mentioning words like pecan and Java man because we're dealing with evolutionary theory. So I guess I got to take you to what a pecan and Java man is. Pecan. See? Write down pecan. Pecan. Pecan, 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 pecan Homo erectus. The first fossil was found in 1921. So this predates Dr. Leakey. I think I've been saying it backwards the whole time. This predates Dr. Leakey's finding. It's not older than Dr. Leakey's finding. It just the finding is found early in 21. Okay. The fossil became a central anthropological discussion and were classified as a direct human ancestor popping up out of Asia, the out of Asia hypothesis in human evolution. There's an out of Africa theory. There's an out of Asia theory too. Pecan Man also played a vital role in restructuring the Chinese identity following the Chinese Communist Revolt. It was an intensive communicative work class and peasant community to introduce Marxism in science. Early models, Pecan Man society strongly leaned towards the communist or nationalist idea, leading to a discussion of primitive communes, and polygamy that produced strong schism between Western and Eastern interpretations, especially as the West adopted the out of Africa theory by late 1967. Especially when the West adopted the out of Africa theory in 1967. Especially when the West, that'd be us, adopted the out of Africa theory in 1967. Told y'all. And what happens in 1970? Roots. Now they got to show you that you were savages and we caught you and we put you on slave ships and brought you over here and civilized you. Roots ran in the 60s for the first time. This is the first time Negroes have ever seen other Negroes on TV in chains. This was taught. This was taught to you. This shit was taught to you. They just adopted the idea in the 1960s. The out of Africa, look what it says. Hypothesis. Oh God. They had to come up with the slave story to make this shit seem, oh yeah, they're from Africa. And then they were monkeys and then they built pyramids and then they went back to being savages and then we captured them. And after we captured them, we made them work for a little bit, and then we civilized them and gave them clothes, and we gave them Fendi and Prada and foreign cars. Yeah, let's stick to that story. That's gonna be our story. But they're not from Africa. It doesn't matter. Just teach them they're from Africa. They're gonna accept it because they're not gonna challenge. They're not from Africa. They look the same. Well, they look like people from New Guinea too. Yeah, but they're not gonna know about New Guinea. We're not gonna teach them about New Guinea. Teach them about Africa only. Matter of fact, it's 1967. Watch this right here, y'all. Watch this. Watch this shit. Now, they didn't accept the theory, especially as the West adopted the out of Africa theory by 67. Look what has happened in the 60s. Watch this. James Brown. Let's see when it came out, because I don't put the wrong 60 on here. Like, let me see. Hold on. When it come out? Came out in what year? 1968. Just as they're starting to adopt the idea that you're out of Africa, look what happens in 1968. You're black now. Negro, black, and colored were all titles given to you by slaveholders. It lasted to about 1866. But this is a new era in time where you must proclaim your free national name and take your seat amongst the affairs of men. Wow, 68, that happens. 67, they just accepted the fact that you're out of Africa, right? Let's go back to these jokes. We're not done with Boaz yet. We're not done with Boaz yet. I'm trying to find. Oh, okay. Let's go back here because he was deep into all type of stuff too. He was called the father of American anthropology. The father of American anthropology. So all those individuals I showed you earlier, and look where he studied at. In Germany. How convenient. He studied in Germany. Isn't that crazy? Franz Boas, father of American anthropology. Now, Johan Blumenbach was an anthropologist too. So he's the father of the study of anthropology. Boas is. Watch this. Father of African Studies. Who's the father of African study? John Henry Clark. I've never heard of her. Chancellor Williams. Dr. Malachi York. Farrakhan. Anybody black you name. The father of African study is a man by the name of Melvin Jean Herkovitz. He was a student of Franz Boas. Franz Boas was a proponent or a huge follower of Charles Darwin. Charles Darwin produced the likeness of his cousin. This is his cousin right here. You probably should write him down. His name is Francis Galting. We call it names today. We call it names. We're calling names. Sir Francis Galting. He was a part of the behavior genetic movement in the field of scientific research that uses genetic methods of investigating the nature and origin of individuals' different behavior. While named behavior genetics connotes a focus on genetic influence. They're studying your genetics. They're digging up the ground. They're really looking into who you are as a people. All right, let's continue on. Francis Galting had a rename. He was Charles Darwin's half-cousin, sharing a common grandparent, Erasmus Darwin. So, any substance. Francis Galting was Charles Darwin's half-cousin. Let's see who else we probably should write down real quick before we get out of here. Oh, yeah. Can't never get his name right, man. There it is. I always get his name. STM. This is another guy you should write down right here. Lothrop Stoddard. Before we get out of class, I want to make sure you guys have those names written down, please. In class, we'll resume tomorrow at 12 o'clock. Everybody on the sound of my voice, make sure you share this. Let people know. We will resume class tomorrow at 12 noon. Tomorrow is Tuesday, 12 noon. We'll resume class. We're going to do a quick recap tomorrow of everything today. And what'll happen is everything I started on today will end up leaking over into the information we got to do for tomorrow. Tomorrow, we're going to go over the real revolutionaries. And then probably Wednesday or Thursday, depending on Chrome if I have time on the network, to go back over to 13 colonies as well. And then we'll circle back to these prominent Negroes you see on the front of this cover, such as Isaiah T. Montgomery and Hiram Revels, and talk about those HBCUs and those land grant colleges as well. So you have Lothrop Stoddard. These are all the same eggs in the same box, by the way. He was a eugenics, white supremacist, Nordicism, because they believe in the three superior races, Alpine, Nordics, and Aryans. Remember that? Ideal that views that the Nordic race was an endangered and superior racial group. Such notable influence Nordistic work included Madison Grant book, The Passing of a Great Race. Madison Grant was a president, yes. Passing of a Great Race. This is the 1900s, by the way. So we have kind of moved from the 1700s into the 1800s, just a little bit latter 1800s. Now we're in the 1900 era. This does go into eugenics and Planned Parenthood and all that kind of stuff, but showing you guys the beginning of the studies of the idea. You always see them with a skull in the head of some sort. The out of Africa theory. It's just a theory. Okay? It's just a theory. It's just a theory, which was based on a finding. Okay? There was no DNA support. It's just skeletal finding. All right? Okay? The film is less directed adaptation of the book, The End of the Love Story. How much is out of Africa true? Blah, blah, blah. So there's plenty of evidence on it. What evidence do we have out of Africa theory? The theory is supported by a variety of evidence, including genetic studies, fossil records, and archaeological findings. We just went through those people, and we now know those names. We now know we could say Australopithecus, Homo habilis, pecan man. We now can put names to this information and stop just accepting at face value the out of Africa theory. I gave you guys information, the entirety of the situation. So tomorrow, class will resume. I want to say thank you guys for tapping in with your boy. Appreciate y'all so much for stopping by. Shouts to Crumb TV. If you guys have any questions, when you guys start reading the information, if you have any questions, get stuck anywhere, shoot me an email. M.O.I podcast at gmail.com. Shoot me a quick email. We can go over it, one-on-one sessions, and how you want to do it. Sometimes I go really fast on this information because I kind of know it. I'm teaching myself to slow down, and so you guys have a good understanding of it as well. So anyway, if you have any questions, be sure to hit me up. The rest of the week, man, we're just gonna dig. We'll keep digging into this stuff. Okay, I mean, it was free, and oh my god, I ain't even get a chance to really get into. I ain't even get a chance to get into his publications. This is a publication by Melvin Herkovich, too, the guy we just looked at, who was a student of Fred Boas. The Myth of the Negro Caste. Oh boy, y'all are not from where they say y'all from. They've been lying this whole time. And so yeah, also coming up, we're gonna dig into these orphan asylums. They're called Black orphan asylums. It'll blow your mind what I show you. And we're just gonna read through some articles. I'm gonna cross-reference the articles with other works, and it's mind-blowing, family. So once again, man, thank y'all. Appreciate it. Yeah, it's a lot of information, y'all. So don't feel like some shit got left out or I didn't get to something right now. It's literally too much information. Like too much information. You know what I'm saying? Once again, if you get the opportunity, throw some in the Cash App. If you want to wait to get all 3 series, that's fine too. We had something scheduled for this past Friday coming out. Now you can't pick in mind, and we didn't sell any tickets. No tickets were sold. I'm not sure if it was not listed or advertised properly, but you guys knew about it and nobody showed up, which is fine for me. I'll just give it to you through here. I just give it to you. I don't own the information. I just give it to you, man. For sure, hit the Cash App and get opportunity, man. Thank y'all so much. We're gonna also dive in more. So what I'm gonna do, I think on day 3, I'm just gonna do a question and answer session with you guys. I'll get with Crom and set that up though. I would definitely prefer that the question and answer session be done Zoom or something like that. We all can, have a little more time to talk back and forth. But definitely hit that email if you have any questions, man. Peace and light, peace and love. Appreciate y'all. Until next time, I'm out.
Hello, everybody. Recording live from somewhere.
Minister of Information.
Minister.
Do you wake me up?
Minister.
Did you wake me up?
Minister.
Why did you wake me up?
The minister. Wake up.
Minister. Minister of Information. All I'm offering is the truth.
The minister. The minister's.
I want the truth.
The minister.
You can't handle the truth.
M.O.I.
Minister.
Minister. Without knowledge of self.
Minister of Information. M.O.I.
Who taught you to hate yourself?
1,000 ministers.
M.O.I. podcast.
Peace to the planet. It is I, M.O.I. Make sure my volume is on point. Peace and light. Everybody can hear me?